Namaste and welcome. I'm Pratim Ranjan Bose and you are watching my podcast Perspective. The political turmoil in Bangladesh raised many questions about the future of this economy, sustainability of Indian engagements which peaked during Sheikh Hasina's era of regional cooperation and impacts on regional peace. I will try to answer them in this episode. To start with, Bangladesh is witnessing a serious power struggle under the cover of August Revolution and New Liberation. The army, being a parallel force, and foreign funded non-profits or NGOs commanding significant influence on the economy, the political administration of Dhaka historically enjoyed limited control. This is the reason why Bangladeshis has less faith on political administration. Corruption has set deep roots in the social fabric, and the country has historically been volatile. This also explains why Bangladesh's political class always seek support of external forces and blame such forces for their misery. Sheikh Hasina blamed publicly India for supporting BNP in 2001. During her 15-year stay in power, Hasina limited political volatility by restricting or managing the play of army and the NGO sector. Stability brought dazzling performance on the economic front. She came to power in January 2009 in the backdrop of 2008 financial meltdown that broke the back of the global economy. The Fukushima nuclear disaster in 2011 added to the misery as energy prices remained sky high for nearly 3 years. At a time when all major economies were struggling, Bangladesh staged dramatic growth and sustained it for more than a decade. That was mind-blowing. However, to her utter discredit, Hasina failed to bring any lasting change in the political paradigm of Bangladesh. Historically, there was barely any free and fair election in Bangladesh. Courts were always a doormat of politics. Banking regulator had limited control. The list is long. Hasina used the same system to stay in power. Naturally, she made the system weaker. Principal rival BNP was wrong to boycott the 2014 election, and Hasina was elected unopposed. Hasina did not use the opportunity for reforms. She blatantly rigged the 2018 election to keep BNP out of power. She was so convinced of her abilities to manage that she started dictating terms on external forces as well. Contrary to the popular narrative in Bangladesh, India was keen for a competitive parliament in 2018. That did not happen. Why India supported her after that is a different story. Most probably, Delhi compromised for the sake of regional stability, which is of paramount importance to us. The pandemic and the post-pandemic uncertainties created another set of emergencies. However, one may note that over the last 2 years, neither Beijing nor Delhi offered Dhaka easy money to tide over the foreign currency crisis. Hasina administration expected a $1.4 billion support from Delhi in 2023. I wrote this previously in my column. They did not get it. Also remember, India was behind China in congratulating her after the 2024 election. In the end, Hasina was caught by the system. Army has stepped in. The same Dr. Mohammad Yunus, who expressed his political ambitions to the US administration back in 2007 and suffered the wrath of Hasina, assumed office through the back door. Many in Bangladesh refer Yunus government as NGO Gram Sarkar. The phonetic similarity with the medical taste of angiogram is noticeable. It would be good if Yunus and his army of paratroopers in the cabinet can detect the blood clots in the economy. But chances are looking slim. The country is discussing a new constitution and brotherhood with Pakistan, when the priority should be set on bringing the economy back on the rails. Yunus administration may try to distance themselves from such discussion, but chances are such attempts will not succeed. The reason lies within his administrations and the steps it had taken so far. First, they are talking in too many voices, even in as sensitive areas as foreign policy. The youth and sports advisor issued misleading statements on flood and passed fictitious blames on India. There is no evidence that Dr. Yunus had taken his colleagues to task for crossing their briefs. Meanwhile, Islamists are enjoying a free run. Dr. Yunus assumed office as chief advisor of the caretaker government on August 8. The position is similar to prime minister of an elected government. In next 3 weeks, Yunus released the jailed chief of the Islamist outfit Ansarullah Bangla Team, or ABT. ABT is a vocal supporter of Al-Qaeda. Next, Yunus picked a student leader with alleged links to the banned terror outfit Hizb-ut-Tahrir as his special assistant. There are many theories behind such moves. First, army rulers of the past weaponized Islam to prolong their stay in power. Yunus may be riding the same wave. Islamists may create a pseudo-nationalist narrative to buy time for the unelected government. Larger section of Islamists led by ideologue and poet Farhad Majhar stood firmly behind Dr. Yunus. His wife is a part of the Yunus cabinet. Islamist support is not unstinted. There are different shades to it. Noted intellectual Professor Salimullah Khan is not impressed at the way things are going. In a recent interview to Bengali newspaper Samokal of Dhaka, Khan said Bangladesh moved from one frying pan to another frying pan. Staunch Islamists led by Jamaat-e-Islami never had more than 10% votes in Bangladeshi politics. They mostly rode on BNP to assume power. There is a theory that Yunus may offer them a unique opportunity to come up as a third force without BNP. Islamists need time to organize. Yunus will get his time in office. There are also efforts to bring up fourth or fifth forces, combining many smaller parties on the sidelines. There is a talk of the students forming a party. New parties are getting election symbols. The primary aim is to keep two major parties, Army League and BNP, with over 30% loyal support base each, out of power, or to reduce the political binary. BNP is out of power for 15 years. They are hungry. The big question is, will they accept such a situation? The bigger question is, will this experiment succeed? If it does, at what cost? India held ABT for indulging into cross-border terrorism in the past. The issues are endless. The chronology of events suggests Bangladesh army was expected to remove Hasina and clear the road for the interim government. Army did not ensure peace as instructed by Hasina during her last few days in office. The death toll climbed by leaps and bounds during curfew. The army is nowhere in the scene now as well. Since August 5 takeover, the country slipped into mobocracy. It is the mob that decides the fate of administration and judiciary. Right from Chief Justice of the Supreme Court to the school teachers, everyone is left to the mercy of the mob power. People are forced to resign in hundreds, literally at the gunpoint. It couldn't have happened without army's approval. The Supreme Court Secretariat has reportedly made repeated calls to the cantonment for support when the residence of the Chief Justice was ransacked. Army let it happen. The Chief Justice eventually resigned. From there, the country is now engulfed in complete lawlessness. In Bangladesh, army rule is generally synonymous to strict rigors of law. This time, it's the other way around. The mob ransacks hospitals, loot shops and establishments, and demolish mazars, which is a symbol of moderate Islam. They also launch atrocities on Hindus and other religious minorities. The factory of a prominent Ahmadiyya business group is torched. The group owners did not assume any political office during Hasina government. The civil society and journalists are asked to toe the line. Many journalists, even in lower positions, are hounded. Many resign from the job. Many are barred to enter the press club. It is pertinent to probe why army is so inactive and who gains out of it. The popular opinion stops at the doorstep of the US and the Yunus administration. Right now, they are enjoying the fruits of the frenzy. Dr. Yunus is talking less, but if newspaper interviews of his colleagues are of significance, the advisors are full of rhetoric against Hasina. Bangladesh was never good at numbers, particularly on estimating casualties in political events. The confusion began with their claim that 30 lakh people died in liberation war. Many allege that the actual number was 10% of it. This time too, there is no difference. As per official count, 300 people died between July and August 3. It jumped to 440 when Hasina left the country on August 5 noon. Now the government is saying over 1,000 was killed since July. There is little clarity on how many were killed after army takeover and who should be responsible for that. Can Bangladesh afford it? There are reports of indiscriminate clashes between students, between Islamic students and other students, and between students and public, between army and public, police, etc. Things will deteriorate if the strong arm of law does not act. But can they act without bias? Practically difficult. Bangladesh economy is gripped by the boom and bust syndrome that is evident worldwide. Globally, banks go sick after a boom run. This had happened in the US, Europe, China, India, anywhere. If Bangladesh is disproportionately affected, that was due to its structural problems. It is time for the economic reforms, which is always harsh on people. Can Bangladesh afford it in current political scenario? Again, difficult. Most critically, can it work without India's cooperation? Between 2013 and 23, India emerged as the fastest growing export market of Bangladesh. From 15 in 2013, India now ranks Dhaka's seventh largest export destination. There is wide integration between the two economies, starting from RMG, that is ready-made garments, pharmaceuticals to energy. India supplies 20% of electricity, that is more than the peak deficit. Dhaka's merit dispatch data shows Indian electricity is cheaper. Adani supplies are cheaper than its peer group. India-Bangladesh diesel pipeline can meet 30% of the fuel requirement in Bangladesh at a distinctly lower capital block. It ensures better usage of forex reserves. The biggest of them all, in these times of global economic shocks, Bangladesh is ensured of food availability. The big question is, can economic cooperation continue alongside anti-India rhetoric by advisors or ministers and release of dangerous terrorists who might have started planning the next attack on India? For the moment, India is waiting for the dust to settle down. Rest assured, it would work for peace and stability in Bangladesh. Thank you for watching Perspective. If you like this episode, please like and share. फिर मिलेंगे.